How to install Catalina on an unsupported Mac? You've asked for an updated guide, so I have made you one. So for all the latest news, reviews and comparisons, don't forget to press subscribe and also don't forget to press that bell. So yes, you guys have asked for an updated guide in how to install macOS Catalina on an unsupported Mac. So if you watched my previous videos, you might have seen me install macOS Catalina on a 2009 MacBook Pro 15-inch model. I've also managed to install it onto an old Mac Pro from 2009 as well. So it seems quite fitting that 2009 is the magic number. So I have here a Mac Mini from 2009, what is also unsupported, and I'm going to show you guys how to install the latest version of macOS Catalina 10.15 onto it. So all you need for this, guys, is you just need a USB stick. I would recommend to have one 16 gigabytes or more. It doesn't matter if it's USB 2.0 or USB 3.0, as long as you have a USB stick, this will work for you. So let's get to it. So I've jumped right over to my MacBook 2018 model I have here, and as you can see I have my USB stick plugged in as well through a dongle. So what we want to do is we want to go to the Spotlight and start typing in disk utility. Oh, I just forgot to also say this can work on any Mac, so you need any Mac basically what's fully working, even the Mac you want to install Catalina onto, as long as it's connected to the internet. That is what you need. I'm just doing this on my 2018 MacBook Pro because I feel like it. I can't be bothered to do it on my Mac Mini. I'm just doing it here because it's right here right now and that's what I edit on. But you can do this, like I said, on any Mac what is connected to the internet. So we just want to click disk utility, and then we want to press on that one, the top one there. And then once we're inside here, what we want to do is we want to change the view to make sure it says show all devices. Once that is selected, we want to go to our external USB stick. This is my Toshiba one here. Click erase, and we want to give it a name. So I'm going to call this one USB installer. Cool stuff. Make sure it's macOS as extended journaled and click OK. And we let that run. Let's go take a second or two to complete. Remember guys, just a quick one, this will work on any Mac basically. I'm going to show you a list in a second of which Macs this can work on, but it can be any MacBook, so you can install a Catalina on any unsupported MacBook or any Mac Mini, Mac Pros, and you guys will see that in a mo once this is completed formatting. It's taking a second or two longer than I thought here. I'm sure everything is okay. There we go, it's mounting the disk, and there we go, we're done. So we can now go ahead and we can press done right here. So we're actually done in disk utility, but I just want to show you this is my external USB stick. As you can see, it's 15.6 gig. Let's close that down. But remember, what we want to do is now go to Safari or your browser of your choice, and we want to type in dosdude.com, and then after that we want to put /Catalina in. I will put this down below for you guys, and there we go. This is the actual page now, so if you got this page, you're on the right place. So we're going to download the latest version 1.4.4. This might go up a bit if you're watching this video a few months later. The other thing as well is to read some important information about APFS boot support. What this basically means is if you've never installed High Sierra on your Mac or whatever you've got, you must either upgrade your Mac to High Sierra if you can. If not, download this package and run it before going ahead. And then going down here, we've got the system compatibility. These are all the Macs, MacBook Pros, MacBook Airs, everything, Mac Minis, you name it, what can work with Catalina. Best thing to do is basically copy and paste, or go onto Wikipedia and copy and paste this information, and then basically work out what Mac you actually have. You can work it out by these numbers here. These are also the machines that are not supported, so basically any machine from 2006, 2007 can't really run on this. There's also known issues with 2011's 15-inch MacBook Pros and also the iMacs, all the iMacs in 2000 and late 10 and early 11. But again, check out the iMac numbers and make sure if your iMac matches those numbers, then I wouldn't install Catalina personally. You are going to experience graphics problems, so it's just not worth the headache, trust me. But that's only a limited amount of MacBooks and Mac Minis and iMacs and blah blah blah. In fact, it's just iMacs and the 15-inch MacBook Pro, what came out in 2011, are affected. Moving on now, so what we want to do is just open up this frequently asked questions, and as you can see here, it tells you tips and guides to help you along if you get any errors. As you can imagine, there are a lot of errors what could possibly happen. Most of the time, about I'd say 19 out of 100 people who follow my guides have no problems at all. But basically, come back to this page if you do have any problems at all with that. The only other thing I would actually say right now, what you also need to do, guys, is make sure you do a time machine backup. At the end of the day, if you want to retain all of your data, you will definitely want to do a backup and make sure you plug in a USB hard drive to do that. And check out my other video, how to do a time machine backup on exactly how to back up your data. Right, moving on. Let's go and download Catalina Patcher. So we want to click on download the latest version, click allow or whatever to download from this website, depending on what comes from your browser, and it will start to download. So depending on your internet speed, it will download at the right amount. Once that is done, what we'll do, we can close down the web browser and we want to open up the package we just got. So I'm just going to do that, let it run, let it verify itself that everything's there, and then all we want to do is just double click on it like this. Give it a second to load. Just doing some more verification. And if you get this, it basically means that because it's not an official signed app, we just need to bypass security for that. So what you want to do is click on the Apple logo up here, go to System Preferences, and then what we want to do is go to the Security and Privacy, and then here, just want to click Open Anyway, and this was for the app, and click Open. And look at the background, there it is, it's running. So I'm just going to close that, and we're going to click Continue, the contributors, and what we want to do is we either want to download a copy, and this will do it through the app, this app here, or if you've got a copy already like I have, we want to click on Browse for a copy. You can do either way, it doesn't really matter, so I've already got a copy like I said, and we can click on that. So if you did click on the other option, what would happen is it will just run you through a download, and that might take some time just to get Catalina for you. What we want to select is the Create a Bootable Installer, not install this to this machine because there has been known issues before. But what we want to do is do that time machine backup and make sure you have backed up all of your files before doing all of these bits and pieces like I said earlier. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to select my USB installer, what I did earlier, and we're going to click Start, and we're going to click Yes, because it's going to delete everything off that USB. I'm just going to put my code in. There we go. And there we go. It is now off and running. So, like I said to you guys, you can click that other option to download the Catalina install through this program. It just accesses Apple servers and just downloads it directly on this. This is for people who basically have got an older Mac and it's not giving you the ability to download Catalina on the App Store, the official App Store. You can just click on the download inside this Patcher app instead, and it will just do it all for you. But afterwards, the next steps are exactly the same of selecting of install to hard drive, install to a USB. Always select install to USB. Like I said, do not install it on your hard drive. There has been issues known before, and we want to do a complete clean install, and that's why I showed you guys we need to do a time machine backup to back up all of our data, because if you don't, you will lose everything. So please make sure you do that. I am not going to be held responsibility for any data loss. So this might take a while though to install Catalina onto your USB stick. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let this run. It's probably going to take about, well, on this machine I've got here, probably take about half an hour to do it, but I've known some people it can take up to 2 to do it. Just leave it run. Make sure that you've got things like sleep mode turned off on your Mac and whatever, and just keep an eye on it and just let it run. So I'm just going to speed up this video now, and I'll see you guys when this installation to the USB stick has completed. So don't get worried that everything's just gone dark. I've got nighttime dark shift enabled on my Mac. Right, there we go, all successful. So what we want to do after this is we just want to close this down by just moving our mouse down to the quit and clicking on that. Right, so we're almost done. What we want to do is we just want to eject our USB stick and just put that in there. And now what we want to do is plug in our USB stick into the back of our Mac, the one we want to install Catalina onto, just like that on my Mac Mini. And then you want to turn on your Mac, and oh, a bit blurry. Oh, there we go, it's cleared itself up now. And we want to hold down the Alt or Option button on your keyboard to bring up the selection menu to install from the USB drive. So this might take a second or two to appear. Let's just see. Just keep holding it. There we go. And we want to click on the Catalina Patcher one, EFI boot. Click on the arrow and let it start to boot. We don't need to put Wi-Fi in or anything at this stage, so don't worry about that. So let this run. Again, this might take 2 minutes. This might take about half an hour to get to the screen, depending on how old or how fast your unsupported Mac is. So I'm just going to let this run. I'm going to speed it up. And there we go. It's starting up now, the recovery, and we should be able to get our options coming up any second now. It might take a minute or so. Right, once you've got the screen up, the first thing you actually want to do is we want to go to Utilities, and what we want to do is go to Terminal down here. Now the reason for this is a lot of people in my previous videos have said they keep getting an error coming up saying that the disk is damaged or something like this, and the reason is because the date needs to be correct. Now you can see the date here is correct, but say your date says the year 2000 on it or something like this, January the 1st 2000, you need to update it. And the way how we actually update it is by putting in date. So we want to put in first of all the month, what is 06, followed by the actual date. So today is the 3rd of June. Then afterwards, what we want to put in after that is we want to put inside the actual hour, so it's 2200, followed by the minute 06, and then the year, it is 20, so it's 2020. Press enter and then you should have the date. Now I will say this, that sometimes this doesn't even work, so the best thing I would recommend to do is change the month to say 2 or 3 months behind ourselves. So if it's June, change it to say April, for example, and then give it a go again. Right, after that, click close, and then we'll close the terminal here, quit terminal, and then we're back on the screen. What we want to do is go to Disk Utility, click Continue, and it might take a minute or so to load, but that's okay. It's just checking all the data and all the disks that are inside. And then what we want to do is we just want to double check that view and change it to Show All Devices. And then we've got internal and external. We're going to select our internal drive, and we can tell this is our internal because it's got 120 gig. Click Erase, and then what we want to do, we want to name our drive. So I'm going to call this Mac OS because that's what it is at the end of the day. and we're going to leave it as macOS Extended. Now you can change it to APFS if you downloaded that patcher what I was talking about earlier at the beginning of this video, but I'm going to leave it as this, and it does work with this, it's fine. So I'm going to click OK, and what it's going to do, it's just going to erase my hard drive. It might just take a minute or so to do that. And looking promising, it's mounting, and there we go, we are done. So I'm going to click done, and then I'm going to close out of this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select Reinstall Mac OS, click continue, and again this might take a second or two to load depending on how fast or how new your unsupported Mac is, because mine's a 2009, it's a bit slow. So I'm going to click continue, and agree to this, and I'm going to agree again. And then what I'm going to do is select that Mac OS hard drive and click continue. And there we go. It is starting to install Mac OS Catalina onto this Mac Mini, or onto your Mac that you are installing onto right now, if you have followed all these steps. If you do get any problems, guys, I will say this now. Go back through the video and, like I said, check out that frequently asked questions, check out all those other bits and pieces, and definitely make sure that date has been updated in terminal as well. If you are struggling with the date, bits and pieces, or you couldn't see my screen that clearly just then, just Google how to change the date in terminal for Mac and just follow that guide there. And like I said, if it still doesn't work, change the month by a month or two behind itself. I've also learned that, say if the month at the moment you're doing this is February, so you're going to put it back 2 months behind, that does mean you'd have to change the month and the year. So you'd have to go back by 1 year, and you'd have to probably go to the last month of that year, for example. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this run. Now what will happen is this will restart once, and when it does restart, that is absolutely fine, and you'll see a black screen and it will say time remaining, yada yada yada. But when you get to the next reboot after that bit completes on the time remaining on the black screen, what you want to do is hold down the Option Alt button again. If you miss it, not to worry, just turn off your Mac by holding your finger down on the power button for a few seconds, and then turn it back on again, and then press Alt or Option again to get back into it. But only once that time remaining screen on the black screen with the Apple logo is up and it has completed, not before that time. So I'm going to fast forward it to that bit, to that second reboot. So I'm now on that second reboot, so hold down the Option Alt button on your keyboard again, and this time you should have the EFI boot option come up again. Now while I'm just holding this down waiting for that to appear, the previous installation can take anything from half an hour to complete to 4 hours to complete. If it looks like it's hanging, just leave it. So right, back onto this. Click on the EFI boot, click the arrow, and we're going to boot back into the Mac recovery. There we are, that was fast forwarded again. So we're back on macOS Utilities. Now this time what we want to select is the very bottom option of the macOS post-install and click continue. Now the post-install will work out what Mac you've got. So I've got a Mac Mini here, 3.1, and it's figured it out, so I'm going to click done. So it should be able to work it out. If not, use that Wikipedia to check out what Mac you've got, and then click apply. Now what this does is it installs all the older drivers and keys or whatever relevant to your Mac that you have got. Now I cannot promise it will install everything, so some capabilities may disappear. So for example, I've had people report that AirDrop might disappear, and the main reason behind that is because AirDrop uses updated firmware versions, and basically DOS Dude, who created this patcher, may never have actually got those updated firmwares, so it might not work. But the only way you can find out is by experimenting. So what we want to do is we just want to leave this run. Again, this might take a couple of minutes just to complete itself, nothing to worry about at all. And it just rebuilds those caches as well. It just takes a minute or two to complete. And once it's done, what will happen is the reboot option will appear at the bottom. There we go, it's just doing it, and it'll say it'll do it automatically. So you can either just leave it run down or click restart yourself. So I'm just going to let this just run because it's only got a second left. There we go. So it's now shutting down the Mac. Now it's just rebuilding some more caches. There we go. And now it's going to reboot, and we're going to go into Catalina for the first time. Now the first time this runs, depending on what hard drive you have inside your Mac, so I've got an SSD drive inside this, so I'd highly recommend getting one, because if you don't have one, it's going to be slow. I can guarantee you that now. So do look into upgrading it if you can. But it might take a second or two, a bit longer to boot up. And if you see this kind of writing, it's nothing to worry about. It's just that your Mac is a bit of an older one, and it's can't display the Apple logo straight away. Again, nothing to worry about, and it will appear. If you don't see that writing, you've got a newer Mac most likely. So let this load up, and I'm just going to fast forward this. And there we go. We're just loading up. There we go. And then we're going to select which language and which country we belong into. So I live in the United Kingdom, so I'm just going to select that, click continue again. I can't be bothered to change any of these settings. Privacy and privacy, yeah. I'm not going to transfer anything over, but like I have said, if you have done the Time Machine backup, you can do this now, or you can do it later on. I'm going to set up iCloud later, click continue. When the terms and conditions do come up, I'm going to agree to them, and agree again. There we go. And I'm just going to name this. So I'm just going to call it my name. So I'm just going to put in here Matt. And just to keep things simple, the password is going to be 1234. And my password is not that, by the way, but just for this demo. And click next. It's funny that Apple allows you to put 1234 in. Somebody see if you can type in password for me. I want to know if that works. And let me know below in the comments if password or any other stupid passwords work, as it were, the most obvious ones. Right, what we want to do is click next, and I don't really want to send my data to Apple for this one because it's unsupported, so I'm going to leave that. It's just doing some checks with iCloud. Ooh, interesting, even though we've not signed into it. Just going to leave that. Don't want to do screen time, set that up later. And what's the last? There's one or two. Oh, Siri. Nah, I don't really want Siri, so I'm going to click continue. Again, it's going to take a second or two to load. And is that it? I think that might be it. Or we got the dark. Yeah, this is what I thought. The dark and light mode. So I'm going to select dark mode for this. And I'm going to click continue. Now, some people might have some problems with light mode actually. So select dark mode if you're getting any problems. Well, I'd select dark mode first of all, just to make sure. Then change it to light and see how things are. Right, if you're on this screen, it basically means you're at the end. So the Mac is setting itself up. This again, depending on your hard drive, it's an SSD or normal hard drive, or the speed of your Mac, might take a minute, might take 10 minutes. But just be patient and it will load. And we're on the desktop, but it's still just loading, so I'm not going to touch anything because I know it's going to swivel around in a second to, there we go, like that. And it's going to ask me to log in when this disappears. There we go. So it's got my name. So I'm just going to click on my name here and put my 1234 password in, and then just press the arrow, and then we're actually going to log in for the first time. And there we are. I'm just going to select my keyboard because I'm on a Mac Mini. It's my own keyboard, so I'm just going to put the keys in. There we go. And what we want to do is we can see Wi-Fi is working for me here if you've not connected by Ethernet. But again, like I said, it depends on the kex and everything. I'm just going to get rid of the USB installer because we don't need it anymore. So it's just going to unplug that. There we go, all done. And there we are on the desktop of Catalina. And just to show you guys, I'm going to click about this Mac, and when it loads, remember this is the first time it's booted up, so it might take a little longer. You can see I've got a 2009 Mac Mini, and I've got 4 gigs of RAM in here, and there we go. And the storage, you can also see that I've got a 120 gigabyte solid state drive inside, SSD, and my 4 gig RAM there. And that just proves the point. This shouldn't be working at all, but it does. And that is how you install Catalina on it. Now this patcher here, we want to click install. And what this patcher, basically, I'm put my password in, 1234. What the patcher is that any kex or drivers that need to be updated or any bug fixes can be done through this tool. And I'm just going to click restart now because that's completed, just to get those additional kex. I think it was to do the dark and light correction. There's an update for that. So I'm just going to let this run, and this time it should be much more smoother to boot into Catalina. So let's just let this boot up for you guys just to see. So the white page, like usual, you don't have to hold any keys down or anything now. It's fully working, it should be. And we should be getting the Apple logo, or we should be getting that funky text coming up in a second. There we go, funky text. Let it all run. Might take a couple of seconds to do it. And then what will happen is the Apple logo will appear. No, a bit more. There we go. And we just let this run. It's almost completed. There we go. It's black and white. We know we're getting into it. And there we go. I'm just going to put my password in again. And now, if after I press that, we should boot into the Catalina desktop perfectly fine. And everything should be as it is, or should be now. So let's let it just boot. And we're back on the desktop now. So you guys can now install whatever apps you want to do, or restore your Time Machine backup now onto Catalina on your unsupported Mac. And that is all you've got to do. Easy as that. So now you should have Catalina on your unsupported Mac, just like my Mac Mini that I have here, what now is running Catalina fully functional. So if you have enjoyed this video, guys, please do press the like button down below, and also please do subscribe to this channel if you want some funky guides like this for your old Apple hardware. I do really appreciate it. Also do check out my other videos on this channel. Until next time, guys, see you soon. Bye.